Okay, we can go ahead and call the meeting to order. Would you like to do roll call?
Ms. Douglas is excused. Mr. Hamilton is excused. Ms. Hedlund?
Present.
Mr. Jacobson?
Present.
Ms. Makowski? Mr. Morrison?
Here.
Ms. Salmon?
Here?
Ms. Waller?
Present.
Okay. And I believe that makes a quorum. Any changes to the agenda? Okay. Next, we want to move to approval of minutes of the previous meeting. Did anyone have any changes or comments? Would someone like to move that we approve the minutes?
I'm so moved. Second.
All approve?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. There is no public input, so we're moving on to communications. We're going to have a final grant report from Lisa Fay.
You're on.
Hi.
I'm a little nervous because I'm not sure the format exactly, but you will help me. This is the final presentation for the project Lickety Split and Other Forms of Temporal Collapse. I know. And I'm not, so it's in here, right? It's in this packet. Okay. So very briefly, the project went well, and we met for 2 months of rehearsals and had 6 final performances, and we had a preview showing at the Boneyard Arts Festival, and we had 2 open studios where we invited people in to look at our process. Here is a, let's see, I'm gonna try to show you, there we go. There's the postcard for the project. Can you see it? Oh, you have monitors, okay. There's the postcard. And this was mostly used as an electronic postcard, and there were a few posters made. And then this is one of the things that happened was that in addition to being funded by the Urbana Public Arts program, this project was also funded through the Illinois Arts Council, which was nice. Additionally, as this project was in process, we were also seeking additional support, and one of the things that we were able to do was to show a substantial amount of progress on current work and work that could be used for another project. And I think as a direct result, these are images from the Urbana project, this image. As a result, we were selected for, this is Jeff Glassman and I in this work, were selected as finalists for the New England Foundation for the Arts NEFA project, which is a national theater touring project. So we were this close. We were one of 25 final national contestants. We didn't get it. We were bummed out. But this is an excerpt of the score that was one of the scores that was made for the piece. The piece ended up being at this stage of it about 40 minutes. Oh, this is just a. This is the program, but it's hard to see because it's it's folded like this. And then let's see. And I'm going to show you, is it okay to show like a 3-minute excerpt?
Oh, yes.
That's good?
Go ahead.
That's good, okay. Let's see, I need to find it. Okay, so, okay, so I'm gonna stop. So just to set this up, the whole piece is about 40 minutes, and it features one single figure that changes their function. So sometimes he's a auctioneer, sometimes he's a magician, sometimes he transforms. So it's a transformative figure, and he's selling water. So it's a you got to see it.
You had to be there.
You had to be there. And those little solos that you see and him changing figures, we recognize him as the same person, but his character, his figure keeps changing. Those are interrupted by these duets that you see, and the duets are sort of in opposition to that solo figure. And this one is called, as you can see, Redundant Worker's Song of Obsolescence. And this is also what you saw, an excerpt of the score from. And this is just the last few minutes of it. This section is 10 minutes.
Could you increase the volume on the
Can I do
excerpt
what?
right there, that little
Got it.
blue button at the bottom
Yeah.
on the right? You just move that to the right. There you go. Just move. There you go. Thank you.
Oh, I think that might be too much.
I don't think it did it. Wait, let's stop for a second, because the sound is really important. Are you hearing it?
Mm-mm.
No.
No, I wonder if it's muted.
Oh, here comes tech support to the rescue.
Either you're really intuitive or you are listening. So I'm going to take it back.
Do you moan out? Do you moonlight?
So that's that. We can clap.
Jeff, you clearly loved your job.
It's the information technology version of Charlie Chaplin in the Factory.
You know, that kept coming up in
Right.
the each performance had a discussion afterwards, and that was exactly it. It was the modern times. Yeah, there's something to that. And that's my presentation. I had. Oh, here, there's some. Let's see. Yeah, so here's, I can just, these are some of the photos. It'll just do it. This is the character. There he is. There he is. Aha! So that's it. That's my presentation.
Do you have any further plans for performing this?
Yes, and and I wouldn't say that they're solid yet. There were a couple of tentative invitations. One is to the Moisture Festival in Seattle, and which is the only place you could have a Moisture Festival, I think. And that's a new vaudeville festival, which is exciting. And then this figure, this guy, there's an idea of taking just that solo material and developing it, and that touring this fall. And then there was another desire to do something this summer that didn't happen. So we'll see. But you should know that the work that's gone into this is also part of work that we're currently developing, but I wouldn't say it's this piece. Does that make sense? Yeah.
So how does this piece fit
Mhm.
into yours and performers' total body of work?
Total body of work in
Yeah.
what way?
Well, is this, I don't know exactly what I'd call this, but it's obviously it's obviously a social commentary.
Uh-huh.
It's obviously a funny. It's sort of on a small, it's intimate.
Uh-huh.
So is that kind of is that sort of characteristic of the work that you
I'm gonna.
intending to pursue, or is it a departure?
Yeah, I'm trying to escape from this flashing slideshow. Okay, there we go. Yeah, the work that most of my professional work was with Mr. Glassman as a professional duo, and our work tends to be intimate, meaning that it's predominantly produced for studios, studio theaters, so small theaters, and we'll go in a few weeks, in a month, we'll go to Korea to perform through the Small Theater Association.
Uh-huh.
So it's not just, that we perform small, but there's small theaters, not just here, but around the world, that it's really part of that work. Yeah. Does that answer?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's.
Yeah, and I think it's really viable work. It's really hard right now for this kind of work to be sustained because it is so small and it's so intensive in terms of the effort that it takes to produce live work. And then if you don't have a big house, then so it's hard. Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next we're going to hear a grant report from Nathaniel Banks.
Good afternoon. The last time I was here, we were Mo Better Music. Now we're BBL Fine Arts Academy. And again, my name is Nathaniel Banks. The music that you're hearing is just a short clip of our students during their summer performance. I'll let that play a little bit and then we'll continue. Okay, so as you have our final report already in hand, I just wanted to highlight a couple of areas. The purpose for our camp is to provide quality musical enrichment to young musicians, focusing on jazz, gospel, and popular music. We do target low-income and underrepresented students, but we have a very diverse camp, and so we're very pleased with that. We do also want to prepare students for success in their school musical organizations, and that's one of the hallmarks of the BBL Fine Arts Academy. We do really encourage students to participate in their local school bands or school musical activities, and so what we see ourselves as doing is providing enrichment activities so that those students can do even better in those areas. Our daily schedule for this past summer, we have a history of jazz, history of gospel, blues, and Latin jazz. We also do sectional rehearsals. I forgot to mention that we have two concurrent camps. We have a beginning/intermediate camp and then the advanced camp. And so most of the students will participate in these daily activities. So the sectional rehearsals are actually by the playing level of the students. We also had bucket drumming this year, as we did last year. We do listening sessions so that the students can hear from the best in their field and get a sense of what the music is actually supposed to sound like from professionals. And of course we have the group rehearsals, and we, at the end of the day, the older students are able to go into the lab and make their own music. Just a little bit more on daily instruction. So we instructed our students in brass, bucket drumming, clarinet, guitar, jazz history and listening, percussion, trombone, trumpet, saxophone, and we also had a vocal component this summer. As far as the camp statistics, we had 22 beginning and intermediate students. We had 19 advanced students, 8 vocalists, so a total of 49 students, and then we also had 9 instructional staff for a total of 58 people in the camp. This might be a good time for me to mention also that our camp is a collaboration between Banks Bridgewater Lewis Fine Arts Academy and the University of Illinois, and certainly with the help of the Urbana Arts Commission. We have a very good relationship with the outreach officer of the School of Music, and so we're able to actually have the classes in the School of Music building, and our final concert is also, well, actually the School of Music building as well as Smith Music Hall. That's where our ensemble rehearsals would take place. And then we also had our closing concert at Krannert Center for the Performing Arts. This is the beginning students, beginning/intermediate students. hopefully you recognize that was 25 or 6 to 4. This is our advanced ensemble. Okay. We also had beginning guitar class. We were excited to have a steel drumming class this year. We were able to work with the Urbana Middle School, actually, and they gave us loan of their steel drum set. So one of their former students, Lucy Barnes, did the steel drumming for us. We also had a vocal ensemble. Unfortunately, we don't have a clip of them, but they were really good. And then our final concert, again, was at Krannert Center for the Performing Arts. And we are very grateful for the support that we received. This is our staff, and I'll take any questions if you have any.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay. Well, it continues to be a great program. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, our next grant report will be on the Urbana Pops.
Hello. What do I just push the down button? The little, to advance it? Oh, that one, okay. Okay, got it. I hope you, I'm Deborah Levy-Larson. I'm the Urbana Pops Orchestra president, and I hope you understand when I say that this presentation is something I dread a teeny bit, but when I get here, I always enjoy hearing all the other presentations because it's so, this community is so unusual and so diverse to hear 3 completely different presentations, so it's exciting. I hope more people understand, you know, what you're doing and what you're trying to fund and promote. So thanks for giving me this opportunity to tell you a little bit about our season. And although the city of Urbana the funding was mainly provided to pay musicians so that the July concert would be offered free to the public, I wanted you to see a little bit more of what the whole season package kind of looks like. This was Urbana Pop's 5th season, so we decided to do 5 free recitals to kind of kick off the season, 1 per month. They started in January, and they were co-hosted by Urbana Free Library in that little auditorium in their lower level, which was just perfect. This picture shows our principal clarinet player, Karen DeBush, playing to a packed crowd of over 120 people of all ages. So each recital featured one of Urbana Pops Orchestra's principal musicians, and then they were joined by several students. From the upper left-hand corner, it's Nathaniel Geiger on trombone, and then Ai Yamaguchi on flute, and that's Matt Reeder, who's a high school student. Lydia Tang on viola, and then in the bottom left is Karen DeBush, again playing with some of her clarinet students. It was Hannah King's birthday, so they're wearing hats for their quartet. And then the last one in May was Sarah Sasaki, and there she's seated with some of her student musicians. It was very successful. I think we're going to do it again next year. We might do just 3 next year instead of 5. Our first full concert of the season was June 4th, and we were back in Urbana High School Auditorium again, which is, I consider that our new permanent home, hopefully. The Sounds of Adventure included lots of music from action movies like Lord of the Rings and Jurassic Park. So we asked Andrew Edwards, who's a Chicago film composer, to provide a little commentary between the pieces. Andrew is an Urbana High School alum, and he's also one of the judges for our composition contest, so he's a part of our education process. For that concert, we also invited C4A's Bodacious String Band to do a pre-concert set, and then in the second half, they came back and they played with Urbana Pops on a Duke Ellington song called Caravan. I couldn't get a shot of all the kids, so I have 2 photos to show you all the little kids that showed up. And I was thinking maybe these 2 violinists might be student interns someday in the future with the Pops. And our second concert was on the July 4th weekend, and so once again we invited the Urbana American Legion Post 71 to post the colors during the John Williams version of Star Spangled Banner. And this one was free, thanks to the grant from Urbana City. This concert was also dedicated to Greg Chu. That auditorium is kind of his home away from home for 35 years, and he was one of the very first supporters of Urbana Pops when we were having concerts at Lincoln Square, and of course on the council, on the commission with you all, and he was just a wonderful person, so we wanted to dedicate that concert to him. And it was nice because it was the second concert we always feature a kind of a preview of the show for the Urbana Park District Youth Summer Theater Program, and this year it was Annie. About half of the cast of 96 students showed up and were able to sing with them for that holiday weekend. I think a lot of the kids were out of town. But I should say that because of the orchestration of Annie, it was only written for about 13 instruments. So we have a full orchestra sitting there on the stage. And so our associate conductor spent many months writing parts for all of the other instruments so that the full orchestra played and accompanied the kids. So it had a very full, beautiful sound.
There wasn't enough room in the original pit.
No, I don't, usually like 22 or something.
there.
You were? Oh my gosh.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow. Yeah, we had a student cellist. I wanted to make a little bit of mention of the educational mission that we have with Urbana Pops, both for the audience and for the student musicians. For that concert, our usual MC, Eve Harwood, was back, and she provides these little oral notes. And because she's a music educator, she typically has us sing something, parrot back what she sings, and it helps you get the song in your head. And then when you hear the orchestra play it, you hear it in a different way. And she's just wonderful. And then both of our concerts had 20% student musicians. So in this shot, it's kind of neat. The piano, I think they handed their phone to the piano player, and he took this picture. You can see Karen DeBush. And then those are 3 of her former students. The middle young man is a high school student, and the 2 on either side are currently U of I students. And then finally, the end of the season, we provide the pit for the musical for the Urbana Park District musical, Annie. And that included Urbana Pops Orchestra, too many Urbanas in this whole thing. Urbana Pops Orchestra's principal conductor, Daniel Sutherland, on saxophone over there on the right, and 6 student musicians, 2 of whom didn't get the memo about the group photo on the steps, so they're not pictured. And just because this is a musical event, I really wanted to show you at least one tiny clip. This is just like the last 30 seconds of NYC. So that ended that whole 13-minute excerpt from Annie. Is that what you do? You just click it? And we'll just wait a few seconds. Okay. Oh, maybe it'll work here. Do I have to do anything with audio? Pan the camera a little bit so you'll see just how many kids are there. A lot of yellow t-shirts. And I have a closing slide if I can find it again. Yes, it says thank you. Thank you for making this possible. Honestly, this would not happen without the funding from the Urbana Public Arts Commission. It's remarkable. And I should tell you that next year we do hope to offer both of the full orchestra concerts for free.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Okay. Well, thanks very much.
Thanks.
I just have an overall comment. You guys make these meetings so much more fun than the Urbana City Council.
You mean they don't provide entertainment at City Council?
I agree too with what Deborah was saying about the variety of the presentations and the funding that the council gives. I think that it's really nice to hear all the different things you're doing. And a lot with the children, that is something that's close to my heart. So and I like the other ones with the older ones too. So it's a variety of arts and it's a variety of people participating. So I think it's wonderful. So thank you.
Okay. All right, next, where'd Lisa go? Oh. Okay, staff report.
I wanted to do it from the center just because I have some images that I'll show
Oh,
with the
okay,
report.
sure.
Is this our staff report on
Mhm.
video?
So we met with the grant subcommittee and went over the grants process in detail. And what we decided to do was make a change in the granting structure where organizations that have been funded for more than 3 consecutive years are going to have to show a 100% cash match to the grant that they get or take a break from granting for a year. And the reasoning behind that was basically that the city grants are not there to, they're there to be a grant, but not like a continued support mechanism. So it's more seed money. We wanted to have the organization show that they were growing and diversifying their funding base. And also, for the past 2 years, I think we've had the grant application process on a third-party website, and I've gotten a lot of feedback, and we've taken some surveys over the past couple of years that it can be a complicated process, and documents don't download, documents don't upload. So what I'm trying to do this year is actually do a very simplified upload and download process within our city website. So basically, applicants will just have to go to this particular link, and they can download their files, do what they need to do with them, and then upload them back again. So hopefully it'll take away a lot of the confusion and things that tend to happen with the technology aspect of it. So along with that, I'm working with the IT department to create a visual database of the grants projects that have happened over the past 6 years or so. So that'll be ongoing as that happens.
Who's this? I think this is part of the report, but it's later.
Yeah.
I'm trying to connect the picture.
Sorry, here,
Like,
I'll-
not yet.
No.
I'll do that. So with the Boneyard Creek Public Art, Jack Mackey came in July 23rd, and I'm losing track of time, that's probably 2.5 weeks ago now, 3 weeks. And he did his final walkthrough, and he was very pleased with how the public art component of the project turned out. He just had a very minuscule list of things that he wanted to get taken care of, which is basically cosmetic. And so his final payment is being processed, and so basically the public art portion of that project is finished. And I put a quick timeline in the staff report of where the Boneyard Creek project is. So we're looking at late August, probably early September now, for the flat and retaining walls to be finished. They've done a lot of the creek work and the stone work. It looks wonderful actually down there. It looks like something's happening. September for landscaping to go in, and then looking at spring for the official ribbon cutting and dedication and programming to start.
Yeah, I sort of wondered because with all the rain, I had walked through there earlier this summer, and with all the rain that we were having, I was wondering how we're ever going to stay on that timeline.
Yeah, the rain has really put them back.
I would think so.
And especially with the flooding that happened, it actually moved a lot of the creek stones that were already in place, the ones that weren't grounded down, so they had to fix them and put them back.
Wow.
So at least it gave them a sense of what was going to happen if there was a flood, so they could deal with it and kind of learn on the fly. In terms of fundraising, we received the green light from legal to go ahead with a agreement with the Community Foundation of East Illinois to set up a version of a foundation. So it'll be like the Legacy Tree Program and what they did. And I'm going to be starting that conversation with Joan Dixon in the next, and we'll have it hopefully worked out within the next month or so. So that'll be set up. And also, we've had a couple of meetings throughout the last couple of months with a crowdsource funding organization called citizeninvestor.com. And they're like a lot of the other crowdsource fundings like Kickstarter and Indigo, but they're specifically set up for municipal organizations. So that has also been cleared through legal. It's just a question now of basically finding the right project. And I think we have to be very specific and careful about what project we choose, because not every project tends to work with crowdsourced funding. So I had put some general ideas down there, but if at some point we want to have a discussion and maybe focus in on one particular project, that would be helpful. Because some of the ones that I thought of were possibly a sculpture purchase for the permanent collection, maybe a public call or a contest for banner designs for the Boneyard, some temporary outdoor performance projects, and then going back to one of the last grant presenters that we had at the last meeting, this is something a little bit more grand in scale, but maybe some kind of public art project celebrating Urbana using art created by Urbana citizens, and then utilizing public space with all of the art and making it kind of like a mini Boneyard. So there's just some things that I thought of off the top of my head, but so that is something that can be in the works for the future. Marketing, our marketing presence online is growing slowly but surely. I mean, every month we add more followers on both Facebook and Twitter and with our email newsletter. And with the downtown subcommittee, we met, and the program of rotating sculpture is kicking into high gear with bringing in the sculptures for 2014 and through 2016. So I wanted to show you what we have so far that's coming for these next 2 years. This first image I'll show you is Stranger Reduction Zone by Timothy Flood, and he's out of Denver, Colorado. And this is a little bit more of an interactive piece, and it should be wonderful because what it is basically, it mimics a crosswalk light, and there's a button that you push in the middle of the piece that has audio to it. And if you're waiting at wherever you're standing at, wherever we decide to put the sculpture in downtown Urbana, it kind of prompts you to say hello to the person next to you in 19 different languages, so you can pick your language and to start up a conversation. And then there's lights flashing and smiley things and things like that. So that'll be installed, I think it's late October. He's coming October 30th to install that. A second piece that'll be installed next Thursday, this is where Bench 9 was on the kind of catty corner from the library. And this is called Asteray by Nicole Beck from Chicago. So that piece will go right there at that corner, right next to the law office. And then a third piece that we have, actually I should say, this piece, Stranger Reduction Zone, is sponsored by the Public Arts Commission. Asteray has actually been sponsored by someone else, but they wanted a place to put it in Urbana, so we gladly said, great, put it here. And same with this piece, A Thirst. This is being sponsored by Mike Hosier, and he would like to put that in the Boneyard. So once that gets a little more settled, we'll put that piece there. And so those are 3 pieces right now. The fourth piece is Fanfare, and just to jump ahead a touch, that did get approved by council for purchase. And so that'll be the fourth piece, and we're doing a call for the last 3 pieces, which will end September 5th. So maybe by the end of September, we'll know the last 3 pieces that'll round out the sculpture program for these next 2 years. Any questions?
I'm sorry?
Any questions for that particular part?
There was a question that came up because I was at that same meeting you were with the Public Art League in Champaign when they introduced us to some of these. Just for clarification, who comprises the Downtown Arts Subcommittee? thought it was Public Art League in Champaign, and what, is this what we call it now in Urbana?
Well, this is
No.
the subcommittee from the Public Arts Commission
Uh-huh.
that meets. So it's Pat and
And
Robin.
Pat and
Robin.
Robin
Mm.
from the good old days?
I guess
No, no.
Oh,
No,
current
no,
Robin.
no.
Robin-
No,
oh,
it is
Robin
a
Douglas,
subcommittee
sorry.
of our,
Okay.
of our
Right, okay.
commission.
I didn't realize it had a name, sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
so
that's okay.
clueless.
What was the one, did you see that at the PAL, the first one there?
We saw some of these just artworks were previewed at the Public Art League reception recently, which Lisa and I attended.
Right.
And there were others that will go in on display in Champaign somewhere.
Yeah,
Sure.
and
Right.
some of them we had flagged for Urbana, but the artists withdrew them because of shipping costs and things like that. So what they actually presented kind of got cut down a little bit, so. Okay, so Art at the Market, we had our 4th Art at the Market for this season on August 9th, and that was veggie and fruit stamping with the Land Connection, and then a musical performance by local favorites, Rebecca Rigo and the Trainmen. And then our last one for the season will be second Saturday in September. And then I installed a new Artist of the Corridor exhibition, Jill Stroberger, who's a self-taught artist and topiary designer in town. And so that'll be up through early November. And then with our latest Art Now episode, we featured Kevin Hamilton. So that's exciting. And then just upcoming events is Sweet Corn.
Okay. Lisa, as long as, oh, I was going to say, as long as you were there, did you want to say anything further on the fanfare purchase, or?
No,
Okay.
it just that it's gone through and the check is being processed as we speak. And I had gotten a maintenance report and conservation report from the artist, so we have that on file in case anything ever happens.
Okay, very good.
Oh, I do have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
We still have time.
Yeah.
Because Ginny and I were discussing this earlier, and how is the process where you where it's determined where a sculpture is going to be placed?
It depends.
How complicated is that process? And
It's not complicated, it just depends on a lot of factors. It depends on the piece itself, kind of the physical constraints of the piece, the materials of the piece, the traffic, public safety. So you kind of bring all those factors into display, into thinking about where the piece goes. And and with some of the pieces, height is a huge difference, so it depends on scale. So
Well, and 2 of these were sponsored by other people, so
Right.
they have some say in it as well.
I would think so.
Yeah.
And how difficult I mean, if you're looking, do you look for sources where to place these statues? Is there a general call, or are people eager to display them in front of their building, or?
Well, because this program has been around now for 4 years, we've got pads at certain places, which
Mhm.
over the years have been kind of cited as good places for a sculpture because they're good sight lines, they work well with traffic flow and things like that. So, we could continue to put them at those particular cross points. We don't have to
But we're not
necessarily.
restricted to that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But it just depends. It really depends on the piece itself and how it fits in with the environment that it's going in, and whether it's interactive or not, or it has a wide scope or scale. So,
Yeah. For instance, with the interactive one, it has to be near a source of electricity. So
Sure.
that
Yeah.
kind of limits where we can put it.
Yeah.
and we can't put that one near a corner where you have a real crosswalk
So we
because
don't
that could
confuse
get
people.
confusing. So,
Don't worry about that one you're showing.
Well, I remember when we first started putting them up around town, and some of the locations, or maybe it was the personal tastes, it was involved in some of the commentary, but some people questioned, where were we putting things and why were we putting it there, and did it really need to go there? And I think we've evolved in a more positive way since then, but just thinking about all the behind-the-scenes activity that goes on to make this possible.
mhm. Well, it's a little bit like installing an exhibition on a public scale. You're just doing it out in the open rather than behind museum walls. So that's a good thing, I think.
More people see it, hopefully,
Mhm.
too.
And
Yeah.
comment on it, so.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you.
I guess we should move next then to new business. It would be the permanent collection guidelines. Do you want to say a little bit, Lisa, about how those were developed?
So I thought, since we were actually adding pieces to the permanent collection, we should have a list of guidelines drawn up that listed some kind of criteria about the goals of the permanent collection, the eligibility, the criteria, site specificity as we move forward. Because it just gives us kind of a, basically a guideline to go by as we're thinking of pieces to go into the permanent collection. So that's what this document is. It goes over the mission, the goals of the permanent collection, who's eligible to be part of the permanent collection and who's not, basically criteria for the artists, and then site criteria. So if there's anything that I've left out, or let me know and I can redraft.
Yeah, did anyone have comments or questions about the guidelines? Go ahead, Jenny.
A couple questions. I think the guidelines are very clear and very detailed. There's no doubt that you've thought about this a lot, and it's very well done. I just had a couple of questions about it, though. The selection of the pieces, then, is that the downtown? Is it just the committee, the committee that you two are on, and Lisa, or is the?
No, presently it is just downtown. That was done before Christina left.
Mhm.
It was transferred to downtown because most of the sculpture at that point was in downtown.
Okay.
Although I've wondered if we needed to break it out again as a separate thing, because I know you were participating in that. So,
Well, not very much as our sculpture committee. We mainly functioned on the Martin Luther King one. I
right,
don't think we were involved very much in the downtown commission one.
right.
So that's just why I was a little confused, as we have the sculpture committee here on our commission, but then there's
Right.
the downtown
Right.
public art.
Yeah,
so
it is
That was
confusing.
a little confusing to me,
Yeah.
so I thought maybe that should be clarified.
Yeah, yeah, well, right now it goes through downtown.
Okay.
But then is there a need, is there some redundancy there because of it? Because you have these sort of, the old committee and then the current committee?
Well,
are
yeah,
being
some of those,
reformed?
yeah, there is, well, it's not redundancy so much as that particular, your subcommittee was kind of focused, as you said, on the Martin Luther King sculpture.
Right.
And so that's really a committee that we have to decide, since it does not have a purpose at this point, we need to decide what that's going to be. And I agree, that should be done. We need to think about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other question I had was, you explained earlier that these pieces would be funded now by this, whatever we call it here, I forgot, the community invest.
Well, it wouldn't be funded by, that just gives us a place to put donations and any kind of funds that are raised for particular projects. It gives us a place to put the
Oh,
funds.
I see, okay, so it's sort of like a savings account or something.
Mhm.
So then my question is, since for so many years here, the Park District, Vanna Park District, and other public art programs have relied on letting the sculptors come here, stay for a couple of years, pay them $2,000 every year and that sort of thing. And that gives us a variety of pieces. They can come and go, or they can stay. And then people really like them, like Tango over there. Money is raised and
Right.
we buy it. And so I'm wondering if we're going to eliminate that and procedure of having that sort of just the 2,000 rental type.
No, most of the pieces we have, I mean, this, Fanfare was sort of a special case because we had this great opportunity.
Right, exactly.
But the other pieces we're doing right now are all rental. So,
So that model stays?
yeah, that model continues,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I think we're doing this primarily because this was our first sculpture that we were actually permanently purchasing, and so we need to have some guidelines for that in the future. But we, because of our budget, we can't afford to be buying everything that
Well,
we
that's why I was a little
that comes
confused
through.
about that.
Yeah, no.
I didn't see the
Yeah.
cost, the way we were going to purchase these pieces in these
Right.
guidelines.
Well, and
And that's what I
Right.
was curious about.
And it's probably because it's a case-by-case basis, and the price changes every time.
I understand that, but it seems like there should be some kind of a clear understanding of how, financially, how these pieces would be here. And then, I guess, following along with that then, with the public arts, the PAL program, we would not work with them for any of our downtown, our Urbana.
No, we are working with them. In fact, the piece that she just showed you, that one is through PAL.
Okay.
But the thing is that due to various things, we did not get all the sculptures through PAL that we wanted, and we still have the money in the budget to have some, so that's why we're doing a separate call.
A separate call?
Call,
Okay,
right, this year.
okay, because we didn't have they would have provided it?
Well, they did, but
Yeah.
They-
One of them, we dithered too long about what the sighting was going to be, and somebody else took it, basically. Okay?
Say that again?
We dithered too long about what the
Oh,
sighting
right.
should be, because it was a very, very large piece, probably the largest piece they've ever had. And it was like, okay, well, where will it fit? And will it, and we went and we looked at the different sites that already exist, decided it's really too big to fit there because of the wires, all this stuff. So by the time we did make a decision, it's somebody else. Actually, City of Champaign had already decided that they wanted it.
But what do we
So
just-
we're not opposed to working through PAL, but it was just a question of, which pieces they had that we wanted, and also, and whether or not we could get them, and we couldn't.
Mhm.
So now
Right.
we're moving on to doing our own call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just think that over
But
the
we
years-
still work through them
Good.
when we can, yeah.
Okay. Because I think, and it was interesting hearing all these people talk today, how everybody works with either the school district or Cranard or
Mhm.
one, or everything. And
Yeah.
I think because there are a lot of institutions in Champaign-Urbana that are interested in public art,
Mhm.
that it's important that we continue to work with
Oh,
all of these
absolutely.
different agencies.
Oh, yeah, no, we have no problem with that at all.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay,
Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
So is the longer-term projection for the boneyard, the redesigned boneyard,
Mhm.
will there be more art pieces going in there
Yes,
from time to time?
yes. One of the things, though, we decided is that it was really difficult for us to decide what sites would be appropriate because it's not finished yet. We even walked over there and said, right now, it's kind of hard to tell where things should go. But we do have that in mind for the future, yes.
And that will probably come into a rotation of someplace that the temporary sculpture goes on a 2-year basis.
Right.
But it's hard because I couldn't tell what surface was flat, what surface was graded. So,
Yeah. So I think once we've had a chance to see it finished with all the landscaping in it, we'll have a better idea of what will work.
Yeah,
So.
It's one thing to look at a picture, of a rendering, and then to actually see it
Mhm.
completed.
Exactly, yeah, and walk
Feeling.
around it, and, yeah,
It's a totally different feeling when
Yeah.
you're in their physical site,
right,
yeah.
right. Okay. Well, at this point, then, I guess we need to have a vote on this, whether we're going to adopt these guidelines. Can I have a motion to adopt these guidelines for the permanent collection?
I-
Oh, I'm sorry, no, Ginny,
No,
go right ahead.
We'll have a
No, no.
discussion after you second it.
I'll second.
Okay, Ginny, did you still?
Well, I was just thinking that it would be nice to have a little bit more financial information in here about these guidelines. Is it possible?
Well,
I know there's
the
variations.
problem is that that gets a little restrictive, too. For instance, this one we just purchased, about half the money came from us, and then half came from a TIF. And,
Right.
the TIF won't always be available.
Right.
And next time it might be some of the funds that we've collected through fundraising, through the crowdsourcing that we talked about. But again, I don't want to restrict, because we don't know what the sources are going to be in the future.
Right.
So,
I understand that, but it's just
Yeah.
not mention anything about how we're going to pay for any of these things.
Okay.
Leaves it a little vague, in my opinion. But-
okay. Well, in what way would you like to have it
Well,
clearer? I mean, can you give me an example of what you might like to see there?
I guess I don't know because of the variations of it, but it just
Yeah.
seems that we should say something about financial
Mhm.
purchases of these will depend on various, you know, funds
Mhm.
or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a financial
Is your concern
person.
just that we'll have some kind of commitment that we don't have the funding for, or?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't think
okay.
we'd buy it if we didn't have the
Yeah.
funding for it. But where's the funding coming from?
Okay.
Maybe it's just
Yeah.
a matter of the wording in the document to say
Okay.
these items would be purchased with supporting funds from the following. And just add that so that at least we know where what you're working with when you make these decisions.
But then doesn't that restrict it a little bit? Because, again, we don't know in the future, we could get someone who comes in to fund a $20,000 sculpture, and all the funds come from
One
X
person.
over here, and it doesn't come from TIF, it doesn't come from us. I don't.
Include it, maybe say with the option for private support as well, just in the wording at least, so that, you know, it shows that you've considered these other, these possibilities. I mean, you want to leave yourself room for those opportunities, certainly.
Mhm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I would leave it, I would vote for if it comes to that, I would vote for leaving it as it is, because I think we hope that there are other things that would open up that we're not envisaging yet. And we also know that there may be pressure on sources that we have been getting. So, you know,
Mhm.
not to continue. So, I would leave that, I would tend to leave that very open-ended. I'm not an expert on art funding at all, but I do have an impression that it's a very entrepreneurial business, and that one should be open really to almost any kind of possibility.
I agree with that, but it just seems like, it sounds like if we're going to do this, we should say how we're going to do it. That's my only concern. I hate to say we're going to do something and then not have any definition of how we're going to do it. But
Well-
I don't know. It just could be my thinking, so.
If you think about it this way, these guidelines are more for, I think the funding and the guidelines are almost two separate things. Like if you think about documents for accessioning pieces of art into a permanent collection, which is what this is kind of a model of, those kind of documents don't necessarily talk about funding. They talk about more aesthetic criteria and the mission of the collection and things like that. Funding is a whole separate
Okay.
thing because, again, you don't know if the work's going to come into the collection from a donation, a straight-up
That's another
donation, or,
Right.
you know, you need to go and raise $10,000. So it's not necessarily part of the
Okay.
criteria, because it's not aesthetic, it's a whole other economic thing.
It's a sense of expectation.
I mean, I could put something in here that,
Following possible sources.
yeah, that says that we won't acquire sculptures that would put the program in debt, or something like that, to make sure that we're not going crazy and buying something where we're going to be in debt for $10,000 or something like that.
No, and I think that's a given that we wouldn't do it, but the
gotta
question
be
is,
approved by
where
the council
where is the
anyway.
funding coming from? But
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad to see the clause about ability to maintain, because you can be given an extraordinary gift, and then it's like, well, now how do we maintain
yeah.
this and pay for this? And
Oh, yeah.
it costs more to maintain it and support it than the gift itself. And so you can,
Sure.
sometimes you don't want to be so
Right.
willing to accept something.
And that's a good criteria, because if you can't maintain it for posterity, then, and if you don't have the money to, and it's some very delicate kind of sculpture, then that's your answer.
Right. Well, I don't know, Jenny, do you feel comfortable if we don't do that?
well, no, I mean, I know we won't buy something we can't fund. It's just that I just feel like we should acknowledge things. But go ahead.
Okay, well, should we proceed with the vote?
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor of adopting these as the permanent collection guidelines, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay. And then, Lisa, you wanted to talk about supporting the, or partnering for the summer movie series in downtown Urbana.
Mhm. This kind of came to my attention because we've had summer movies in the parking lot of Busey Bank, and it's been going on. I think they've had 3 now, and they have a slot for the 4th in September, and they've had kind of 2 food-related movies and 1 bike-related movie with Breaking Away. And I thought, why can't we have an art movie and kind of bump up the presence of the program and what we do? And so I reached out to Matt Cho, who's kind of organizing it all, and he said it would be about a $500 cost to sponsor it. And then we started thinking of movies, and it turns out many of the art films are all R-rated, so that kind of cut down our pool. So I wanted to kind of get a sense that this was something that was good, that we could go ahead and explore as far as a partnership for possibly the September slot, or maybe save it for next year, or...
Had you thought any more also about having any kind of accompanying activities? I think we talked about maybe some kind of art, not an art show, but, yeah.
It would depend on the movie that ultimately gets chosen.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I don't know. How does everybody feel?
It wouldn't be in conjunction with something like the Sweet Corn Festival, then it would be a separate.
Right.
yeah, a
event.
separate weekend.
Mm.
And I think they must have picked the weekends already. I'm not sure which one it is in September.
That might make a difference if it's a football weekend or too close to school happening and people, too busy with getting their kids ready for school, that it may not attract as many families as you might hope. I guess there's a lot of variables to consider.
Yeah. Well, they have been fairly well attended this summer so far, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been to one, the Breaking Away one, and that had a couple hundred people there. It was fantastic. It was a great evening.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think it's kind of worth a try. I was trying to think of what movies would qualify for a family, and of course there's this great classic ballet tragedy, The Red Shoes, and or I think maybe even The Red Balloon could qualify as an art movie, perhaps, because it's sort of a happening in the sky. But I think it might be, I think it's worth a try. Whether Breaking Away has this obvious broad appeal, whether we could match that with a movie with an art theme, don't know, but if we could, it would be great.
And because I come from an art background, I was thinking more visual art, but there's also music films out there that I didn't even consider. Is there one that, I don't know if it's rated R, but the one about the violin that kind of went through the ages.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Red
yeah.
Violin.
The Red Violin.
Is that, okay, it was
Yeah,
the Red
that's an
Violin.
excellent
Yeah.
film.
And I was thinking of maybe there was a documentary by Bill Cunningham on, he's the fashion photographer in New York, things like that. So, but if there's any music ones or other dance ones that come to mind, because I was thinking purely kind of
So how did
visual
they
art.
do with the royalty issues and film rights and the cost of showing? Because a lot of film companies charge a rental fee when you, even if it's minimal, it's usually around $100 just to.
Yeah, I think that's part of what the $500 would cover, and he would
Uh-huh.
have his interns work on the royalties and all of the licensing and things like
Yeah,
that.
because that can be complicated.
Yeah.
Unless we get somebody like That's for Entertainment or one of the video stores to sponsor it.
We could.
They want customers.
Yeah.
And they would have the rights already, just
Mhm.
probably. Some
Well,
of that
and
could be
I
bypassed.
think there must be a whole separate category for showing it in public, too.
Yeah.
So,
So I would, if we do look for a sponsor like that, I would think we've made we've entered into an agreement for broadband expansion with the broadband affiliate of Family Video. And they, you know, they might like to have that visibility. We are partnering with them already on the city level. So so they might be a company that's that could be approached. And I love Rentertainment, but they're in a dying business.
Yeah, in some
And-
ways they are.
And Family Video is, you know, Family Video has decided that their future as their rental business dies is going to be in broadband and
Mhm.
streaming. And so I think they're kind of a more viable, and they're also a very, very good company.
What about the Pens to Lens project that we're supporting? I mean, I
Mhm.
know they just had a big presentation at the Virginia Theater, and they have some public sponsors, but aren't they based here in Urbana?
Mhm. Yeah, that's a
They might
fantastic
want to show
project.
their product again, for example.
That's a great idea.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah.
And there's other programs. The IMC had done a film festival in the
Yeah, they just
spring.
did a women's,
Yeah. but-
actually, I think they did just a women's film one just a couple weeks ago.
Right. I mean, there may be some, you know, right in our backyard, so to speak, where don't have to look very far to get some sources.
Mhm.
Well, I guess really the question is, should Lisa continue pursuing this? Are we interested enough for her to do that, or is that
Yeah.
kind of the consensus?
Yeah, I think there's nothing to lose and maybe something to really gain. I mean, it gets us into another way of projecting the value of art and public art, and because, you know, everybody loves movies
Mhm.
if they're the right ones.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and it's been a good event series throughout the summer. I mean, it's added some vibrancy to downtown too,
Right.
which is good.
Yeah, although I do think she has a point that there will be a lot more things going
Oh,
on
yeah.
in September.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think of this as kind of a summer type thing, where
Mhm.
nothing's
Right.
going on and everybody
Right,
goes to
right.
outside.
So we'll, yeah, just keep that in mind too.
Mhm.
So.
Well, I'll see what the specific date is and then
Okay.
see what else is going on. And then I guess we can decide from that.
Okay.
Maybe it can be a refuge from football madness.
That's true.
There's got to be a couple hundred people who want to watch a movie. So.
Really? Okay. Do you need anything else from us on that?
Nope.
Okay. Any announcements that anybody has? Okay, in that case, can I have someone move to adjourn? Got a second?
Second.
Okay, we are done.